Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. So today's topic actually comes from a long conversation that I've been having with my wife about musicals. And I am somewhat of a fan of musicals when it comes to on the stage. I think musicals work really well on the stage. I think it's the perfect venue for that form of entertainment. You can see by not just narrative musicals, but just in general, it's always better to see a band or a performer. Usually, it's better to see them live than it is to see a recording of them, singing their catalog. But in terms of like movies, it's kind of a crapshoot. There are some really good movie musicals that are out there, and the reason why I think that they're good is only because of the fact that they point to the original show that they are based on. Clear example, Chicago. I thought Chicago was a great translation from stage to screen. It was such an enjoyable film. It felt alive. It didn't, everything about it just seemed to flow. And even the parts of it that maybe weren't as strong, I didn't mind. I still thought it was a great translation into film form. And but I've had this conversation with my wife for a while because she is a big musical fan. She loves musical theater. She's a musician herself. She's a singer. And she always wants to watch something that has a musical element in it, and sometimes that involves a movie based on a musical, or it can be watching the filmed version of a staged play or musical. And I will sit down and I will watch all types of films. I'm very I very much am interested in different types of cinema and different types of entertainment, and so I want to know what it is that is why certain musicals are considered to be great, why just why certain things have kind of caught on fire in terms of the excitement around certain shows. And she loves Phantom of the Opera, and so we've watched many versions of the Phantom of the Opera, and I have to say, I've tried to love the show. I've tried so many times, but and I'm saying, like, I saw it live in an actual theater. I've seen the staged like movies, I guess you could say, or like the staged version that was recorded. I've seen the movies, and I just there's some beautiful music in it for sure, but it always has fallen flat for me. I've never really was pulled in by the story itself, and I kind of noticed that with a lot of the musicals that are out there. I mean, there are the classic ones. There's the like Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals, which some of them are great on stage, but the usually the film versions of these musicals are never that great, and I end up. I think about why that is the case. Like and because I want the movie musicals to be good. I want to be excited to see a musical in movie form, but it just somehow with the directing or the acting or what, or maybe it's just the fact that people are breaking into song that kind of is very jarring. In general, it's jarring on stage sometimes to just suddenly go into a song. But I'm fascinated by the fact that this form can work really well in one context, but not really work in another. And so the points that we kind of bring up is that, well, in a film, you can cut, you can edit things, you can make something happen that maybe didn't happen because of the way it was cut, as opposed to live theater where with film, like, you can also overdub. Like, there's so many different tricks that you can do in a film to trick the audience, as opposed to live theater where it's like, if the person who's performing doesn't have the chops to sing the song, it's gonna show. But then on the other hand, if somebody definitely has the chops to sing a song, you feel it. You like it, it is magic. It is beautiful when you're sitting there in the audience and somebody is like just killing a song. They're just like, it's just nothing else on earth. And it's because it's such a communal thing too, because like, everybody else around you in the theater is feeling this, and the person in front of you is like creating this in front of you, like it did this version of the song, because like when it's live, it's always different in one way or another. And the fact that like you're watching it being created in front of you makes it even more special, as opposed to when you're watching it on film. You're like, well, they filmed this song 2 years ago. Who knows if they did a reshoot? Who knows if like they brought in somebody to dub in the voice? Who knows if like they put a cut here just to make it, try to make it flow better. So that there's a lot of, like, it doesn't feel as natural when you're watching it in a film. And it's the same thing with the effects too, especially if you have a stage play that has some really intricate special effects that are there on, that are happening in front of you on the stage. Like, I'm going to point back to the Phantom of the Opera. There's certain things in that show that are quite amazing to see and are magic tricks in front of you. Like, there's this it's like a part where if I remember right, it's like there's like the Phantom like backs away after singing a song, and he sits in this chair, and he wraps himself in his cape or whatever, and then my wife's gonna kill me. I can't remember the name of these characters, but anyway, somebody comes up, pulls down the cape, and he's gone, and all that's there is the mask. And it's like, wow, how did they do that? That is like in a magic trick that happens right in front of you. But it's not as powerful when you're watching it in a movie, because you're like, oh, well, they had him sit down, they cut, and then then he got up, he probably went and got some coffee at the crafting table, and then they shot the rest of it where he's not there. So it's like the magic kind of like it goes away when you're watching these things in a movie. But also because a movie is already such a heightened it's a heightened format already, that when you have characters singing, it's like, unless the frame matches that grand scale of the show itself, it actually ends up making that musical number smaller, or it can make that musical number smaller, and it all depends on how they film the scenes as well. So there's just so many ways in which a show, a musical translated into film form, can be diminished And like I said before, I'm fascinated why that's the case, because there can be some like awesome songs, but like maybe the story doesn't hit as hard because of the fact that it's now in film form, and the expectations are a lot higher, and that you need to the filmmakers need to do more to establish why somebody is breaking into song, or why a certain character is making a choice, because of the fact that there's more of an expectation that you need to show more. You need to establish a believable reason why these characters are doing what they're doing, as opposed to on the stage, where everybody who is showing up to watch the show, the audience, is expecting that there are those limitations. You only have the stage. You have a certain like number of set pieces that can fit onto the stage, or can fit on the backstage area, that need to be rolled out, or that you have a fly system that can only bring in so many drapes or whatever. It's like the audience is expecting these limitations, and because of that, when they come into the theater, they are more willing to accept those limitations, and they're there not only to see the sets, but they are there more for the actors, for the story possibly, but more often than not, they are there for the songs, and that's another part of it, where movies that are musicals, and I'm gonna branch off into just movies that start out as musicals, like there's nothing before, they're just like a Disney film. It's like they start off with it being a musical from the get-go, and it works a lot better when it comes to animation, because they're working on this thing for like 5 years, and they're able to try a lot of things and to craft the story so that it's really tight. But when it comes to live action, that's where it can kind of fall apart. And I want there to be stronger musicals. I mean, there are some, like West Side Story is a really strong musical that was taken from the stage, and when it was put on screen, it just the spectacle of it all. Like you watch that movie, and it's just the like cinematography is beautiful, and the dancing, and it all fits cohesively, and it takes you through this tragic story, and you're just like, wow, like this was beautiful. The songs are beautiful. The dancing was beautiful. The cinematography was beautiful. Like this, it's almost a perfect film in a lot of respects when it comes to movie musicals. But then on the other hand, there's movie musicals that end up taking like songs that already exist, and they try to repurpose them. And that also is not that great, because I know there was like Moulin Rouge was like, I think, one of the first ones to do it, and everybody got excited about that. But it just like I haven't seen it. That it wasn't something that I was necessarily excited about. But my wife did, and she was like, yeah, yeah, so they repurposed some pop songs. Who cares? Like, I want to watch a musical in which I am brought into the story, and the songs that are a part, like, were created for that story. And one example, which is where it's like animation and musical, and I don't know why they did this, and I'm glad that another movie came out that actually seemed to do it right. But Book of Life, like, it was a great movie, but once they started to have the pop songs, I was just sitting there in the theater, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Why you just create songs that relate to what's going on in the story, and are a part of, like, relate more to the culture than trying to put in like all these, like, yeah, it just didn't make sense. And then Coco came along, and it was roughly kind of the same story, but it was like they had original music, and it fit. And I was like, yes, this is what I wanted. This is how it should have been. Like, I don't understand why this other film made the choices that they made. And, like, who knows if there was a compromise in production, or they were like, yeah, nobody's going to come out to see a movie about death, like, we got to put pop songs in it. That's the thing that's going to hook them in. Who knows what the reasoning was, but I just didn't get, I liked it, and I was like, it could have been better. And then Coco came along, and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what Book of Life should have been. So, yeah, I really wish that movie musicals were better, and I think a lot of people, a lot of directors get caught up in what they think the audience is expecting. There's a fan base who wants to see a certain show put in movie form, but I have to think that there is, as funny as it may sound, there is a rhythm when it comes to these films, and that's the thing, that is the element that lacks in those films that don't work. It's that when you're watching it, you don't feel like the story is about to break into a song, or that a character is about to break into a song. And so when it happens, it's very jarring, and I don't know exactly how you establish that, except in the way you edit it, or the way you direct the actors, or like there's just some kind of rhythm in the way the story is being told that has to be established, so that when the film goes into these songs, it's like, it feels like it's natural. It feels like it's part of the world. It feels like what it's supposed to be, instead of it being shoehorned in, for no good reason. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're wearing the mask, washing your hands, all that stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about musicals, and if you like musicals, let me know some of your favorite movie musicals, or maybe musicals that you thought weren't that great. I brought up a couple, and just let me know. I want to have conversations about film, and I kind of want to see if if other people feel the same way, because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that I tend to have a very unique kind of opinion about a lot of things, and maybe it's not so unique, so that would be great to kind of hear that people feel the same way about these things, or that something that I think is off is actually like that everybody thinks that that these things are off about movie musicals. So anyway, guys, I'll talk to you on the next one. And also, if you want to connect with me, I have a email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast@gmail.com. Also, I have a Twitter account for the podcast where I post episodes, and that is @title_Tim. And you can find also on the Facebook page, I have a page for the podcast, so you can connect with me there. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you, and until then, I'll catch you on the next one.